Ryan here with LongRangeOnly.com. In this video, we're going to talk about the True Ballistics Chronograph. This is not a review. I just got it and we took it out this morning, so I only have one day with it. This is going to be my initial impressions and the things that I have seen so far. As I work through some of the things that I don't like, I may end up calling the company, but we're going to go ahead and take it out here. This is what it comes like. It comes in this little soft case. I personally think the case is better than the one the Lab Radar comes with, and it comes with a data USB-C cable, which is important because you'll need a data cable if you want to do firmware updates. So I did do a firmware update on this. The cover is also the stand. I'm sure if you don't like it, there will be other options, or there might be other options out there. It just screws right into this, and then it sets up like that. There is no adjustment for it for this size, side-to-side deal. It can be moved like this. So far, I don't think it's going to be as particular as the Lab Radar about the setup. Now, distance from the rifle is definitely going to be. So this isn't going to be a how-to either, but I'm going to turn it on. You push the button, a little screen pops up. It says tap the power button to activate. To my knowledge, or from what I'm seeing, that is, as soon as you activate it, it is armed. I don't see a good indication that it is actually armed. It's got two lights. I'm not seeing a correlation to whether it's armed or not armed. But you'll get the True Ballistics, FX True Ballistics app. I think in the App Store it's called FX Radar. Bear with me here. FX Radar is what it's called in the App Store, at least on iPhone. So then, once it's armed or turned on, you'll hit the home in the app, and then you'll hit the connect. Okay, and then it's basically ready to go. I'm going to do some screen recording here real quick, so we'll kind of talk to this camera and we'll walk through. Let me get a screen recording here going. Alright, so now I've got this unit and the phone connected. We're going to go through here. You can add profiles with this little button right here. So you see that it added two of them there as I click the buttons. We're just going to go ahead and delete those. One thing to note here, which I think is annoying, I tried to make two different profiles, one for my Kelby Coda with a 135 burger and one with a 140 burger, and it doesn't, you can't tell which one is which. And then if you save the string, you can't tell in there. It just says Coda. So when you want to name your profiles, you're going to have to name it with the bullet, even though it has a spot for the bullet in the profile. That's just one of my many annoyances. So anyways, you can create profiles here. So like when you want to go out with the same gun, you would click the profile, then you would go over to the shot string, and you would do a new string. Obviously, we're not going to be shooting here. You have to have this app open for it to send the information to the phone, as near as I can tell. I cannot find any way to get any information off of this thing onto the phone after the fact. So you would do a new string, and you would leave this screen up. You can't be doing other stuff while you're trying to get this data. The Lab Radar doesn't care. It saves the information to the Lab Radar, and then you can communicate with the app later to get the data onto your phone. I don't see any way to do this. It is only on the phone. The screen's got to be up to save it to the phone. But you would do a new shot string. When that shot string is over, in order to actually keep it, you have to hit the save button. Okay? Again, on the Lab Radar, it automatically keeps all of it, and then you can sync back and forth between the app and the Lab Radar. So to me, that's a huge letdown. You have to actually save the profile or save the shot string. In the end, or after use, I may get used to it, but the default should be to save it, and then you can delete them as you go. One thing is, most of our phones have a lot of storage in them, and the big storage will allow you to save a lot more shot strings than the LabRadar without going to a huge SD card on the LabRadar. So we've got the shot string section here. We already talked about the unit just powered off. I'll come back to that in a second. We talked about the shot string, we talked about the profile. The settings I don't think are very helpful, but you can see you got a profile in there. You can put the projectile in there this would be in your profile. You can look at the profile settings. You can put scope stuff in there. It has some other features that I'm not going to get into because I'm not going to find them to be very useful. Then this is where you go to find your saved strings. I don't think it's very intuitive. So I would think that you would go to the profile, click on the profile, and that profile would pop up with a list of shot strings, and then you would click on that to view right from the profile section. That's not how it is. You go to the More tab, you go to Save Strings, and then you can see all the strings listed there. You can go in, you can view the strings. It tells you how many shots, the extreme spread, the high, the low, the average, all that stuff. And then you go back out of that. I think for first impressions, this is all I'm really going to talk about. I don't know if I'm going to find any more about this unit. Again, this is not a how-to, it's a first impressions. You also can set up the timeout on this unit to the max of 500 seconds, which I also find annoying because I can't see any way, and I will probably end up calling the company, but I can't see any way to tell if this thing is armed. I assume it's armed every time it's on, and then at the end of that 500 seconds of inactivity, it powers down. But with the LabRadar, it doesn't power down, it just deactivates, and it goes from an orange light to a blue light. And then when it's getting ready to deactivate, the orange light blinks. So the unit's still on, but you know it's not going to collect the shot. There is no warning that it's getting ready to time out. I don't know if you can like touch a button on it and it'll reactivate that 500 seconds. That's something I will figure out for the review, but it is something that is very annoying. It timed out on a couple times right before we were getting ready to pull the trigger, whereas the LabRadar, when we had them side by side today, was blinking orange, so you knew it was getting ready to time out. Okay. The things, let's just break down what I can tell you or how I feel about them initially. I wouldn't be looking for a replacement for the LabRadar if not for a couple things. It misses shots. I've gotten it pretty narrowed down for all my rifles to where it needs to be to get the shots. So missing shots is really not the #1 reason why I want to replace the LabRadar. This morning this missed 0 shots. The LabRadar missed like 3 or 4 shots out of, I don't know, 50, 60 shots. Okay. The app on the LabRadar disconnects all the time. And that's the #1 interface for me. I don't want to touch these units. I don't want to get up and fidget with them when I'm trying to stay behind the rifle. So I'll be in the middle of a shot and then they'll disconnect. So I have to get up, click the unarm button on the LabRadar, resync the app to it, then go back into that shot string and rearm the unit. And it's just a hassle. It happens, I would say if I go out to shoot 20 to 30 rounds, it's going to happen 2 or 3 times on an average day. It might make it one day with none. It may make it one day with 7 of them. And I'm not exaggerating. It's very, very annoying. The original app never did that. Now, the original app was kind of a pain to create new shot strings. The new app is a lot easier to create new shot strings. It's also a lot easier to delete old shot strings than the original app. But the original app never had connectivity issues for me. Now, you can go out on the internet. the lab radar is a love-hate relationship, I think, with everyone out there. It almost always gets the data, and even if the app is not connected to it, you can sync after if you don't need to create a new shot string and it does get disconnected. You can just let it run and you can sync later to get your shots. But it's annoying. For such an expensive piece of equipment, it should not be that way. This didn't have any connectivity issues, but I think although it looks pretty, the usability is not great. Like I said, the profile section, you should click on these profiles and then that should bring up the shot string list, and then you should click on that. Going to another screen is just poor programming, in my opinion. This is 2023, not 2000. I would be embarrassed if I were charging people $1,000 for this and this is the app I gave them. And that's just all there is to it. I might end up liking this unit better than the Lab Radar, especially once I get used to the flow of it and if it doesn't lose connectivity, and I can always do new shot strings. But I don't know, because I'm going to be pretty irritated if I forget to hit save and then I just don't have that data string. Because typically I'll go out there, this pretty much the only time I use a chronograph is during load development. It's just for extra data. I think most guys would actually be better off not using the chronograph during load data, because velocities don't correlate to accuracy, despite what all the people on the internet say. They flat out don't. You cannot find an accurate load using velocity. The paper doesn't lie, ever. So most people would be better off not even having the chronograph and just doing ballistic truing after the fact. Shoot paper to long range and then figure out, reverse engineer to see what the velocity is with a known BC. And Burger Bullets BCs are very accurate. That's what I used to do 15 years ago before we had all this available information, and it worked fine. But I do like to have it, especially when I'm doing several different cartridges with the same combination. Typically you will start to see patterns on where the accuracy node will be. It's not a for sure thing, and I don't rely on it, but it does help me kind of pinpoint or get to the load quicker. But realistically, a long range ladder is the best way. But anyways, I still want to go back and look at that data later. So if I forget to save and then I don't have it, I can't get it off of here that I can tell, and then it's just not going to be on the phone. Whereas the Lab Radar, as long as if it recorded it, it's going to be there. And it won't let you do a new shot string if it's out of storage space. So right now, from what I can tell you, is the Lab Radar is actually going to destroy this thing and actually keeping the data and allowing you to get the data later. Okay, bar none. It does seem like this is going to be better at collecting the velocities, and I do think that the app is a little easier to use, although it's not intuitive. Once you figure it out, you can work through what I would call muddy interface. So that could be a plus. And the fact that it's not disconnecting all the time is absolutely a plus. As far as this unit versus my Lab Radar, this was reading about 8 to 9 foot per second slower. There is a way to true it in here. You can just go add. In this case, I added 0.03 or 0.3%. We'll see if it actually gives me what I want when I go out the next time. But that's it. This is the first impressions of it. I'm not falling in love with it for $1,000. I had higher expectations. I'm not ready to tell you that I'm going to sell it and keep the Lab Radar yet, but it's not really, we're not really connecting. For that kind of money, I expected quite a bit more. It feels plasticky, and it's just not as robust as the Lab Radar, which I don't really care about. I would really rather it focus on the ability to collect the velocities and a better app. The app, I expect them to collect the data, the units to collect the data. That's a prereq. If it won't do it, then they're worthless. For this kind of money, I would expect an app to be better than this, and I'm very disappointed in the app. although I still believe it could be better as an app goes than the LabRadar. But there is no way to get data if you forget to save your shot string, which is very frustrating, and that's definitely puts it behind the LabRadar. Okay, that's it for this video. I'll have a link in the description below to a thread on longrangeonly.com. Head over there to ask me any questions about it. If I can answer them, I'll answer them. If not, I'll try to jot them down and try to figure it out in the field as we work through the review. If you're not a member on the forum, we would appreciate it if you sign up. It's quick, it's free, it's easy. There's lots of other information out there. If you know who we are, you probably already know that. If you just find this because you're looking for a review on this, you probably don't know that. Like I said, it's quick, it's free, it's easy to sign up, and we would love to have you. You don't necessarily have to be a member to go browse around, but if you want to ask questions, you're going to have to sign up for an account. Please like the video, and if you're new, subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you taking the time to watch. Have a great day.